Have you ever felt a chill run down your spine? A whisper of something unseen brushing against your awareness? Most dismiss it as a trick of the mind, a fleeting shiver in the dark. But what if it was real? What if the whispers were a truth too terrifying to ignore? There once lived a girl named Ilara, her life a tapestry woven with the threads of the ordinary and the extraordinary. Outwardly, she was like any other child, her laughter echoing through sun-drenched days filled with games of hopscotch and whispered secrets. Yet beneath the surface, something extraordinary stirred. Ilara possessed a gift, a wellspring of magic that flowed through her veins, a symphony of power waiting to be unleashed. But as with all gifts, this one came with a price, a shadow that stretched long and dark over her life. Her abilities, though wondrous, set her apart, a beacon in a world shrouded in normalcy. She was different, an anomaly, and the world, as it often does with what it doesn't understand, reacted with fear and suspicion. From a tender age, Ilara's world was different. Objects moved at her command, not with the clunky awkwardness of a toddler's grasp, but with the effortless grace of a maestro conducting an orchestra. Whispers of wind carried voices from afar, weaving tales of distant lands and forgotten lore. She saw what others couldn't, a shimmering layer of magic overlaying the mundane. Trees whispered secrets in rustling leaves, the air hummed with unseen energy. Her reality was a vibrant tapestry woven with threads of magic, a stark contrast to the drab normalcy perceived by others. This heightened perception, this glimpse into the hidden workings of the universe, was both a blessing and a curse. It filled her with wonder, but it also isolated her. Her innocent attempts to share her visions were met with blank stares, her excited tales dismissed as childish fantasies, and so Ilara learned to keep her gift hidden, a secret treasure buried deep within her soul. She became adept at navigating two worlds, the ordinary and the magical, her life a delicate balancing act between revelation and concealment. The weight of her secret grew heavier with time. Imagine carrying a universe within you, a symphony of power that threatened to burst forth with every heartbeat. Such was Ilara's burden. Control, she soon learned, was paramount. Every surge of emotion, every flicker of fear or anger threatened to unleash her power in unpredictable ways. A sudden gust of wind, a flickering light in the dead of night. These were not random occurrences, but the echoes of her own turbulent emotions. This constant vigilance, this need to suppress a fundamental part of herself, took its toll. The vibrant, curious child retreated further into herself, her laughter fading, replaced by a haunted look in her eyes. Loneliness became her constant companion, a shadow that stretched long and dark across her path. The other children, sensing her difference, kept their distance, their whispers following her like phantom footsteps. Despite the isolation and fear, Ilara's powers were not without their moments of wonder. She reveled in the silent language of animals, their thoughts and emotions painting vivid pictures in her mind. The rustling leaves whispered tales of forgotten lore. The babbling brook sang songs of ancient magic. One day, while playing in the woods, she stumbled upon a wounded bird, its wing broken, its tiny life fading fast. A surge of compassion, pure and raw, flowed through her, and to her astonishment the bird's wing began to mend before her very eyes. The experience was both exhilarating and terrifying. She had healed the bird, but what else could she do? What were the limits of her powers? The fear, always simmering beneath the surface, flared anew. Her powers were a double-edged sword capable of both creation and destruction. The fear of what she might unleash, of the potential for chaos that resided within her, became a constant companion. As Ilara grew older, so too did her powers. The whispers in the wind evolved, taking on sinister undertones, weaving tales of darkness and despair. The shadows seemed to lengthen around her, their edges blurring, revealing glimpses of monstrous forms that lurked just beyond the veil of perception. She tried to ignore them, to convince herself that they were nothing more than figments of her imagination. But the whispers persisted, growing louder, more insistent, their icy claws digging deeper into her sanity. One night, as she lay in bed, her room plunged in darkness, she felt a presence. It wasn't a physical sensation, but something more profound. A chilling awareness that sent shivers down her spine. The whispers reached a fever pitch, their voices morphing into guttural growls, their forms solidifying in the shadows. Panic surged through her, her heart pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird. The fear, always simmering beneath the surface, threatened to consume her. "Who's there?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Silence, but the presence remained, heavy and oppressive, like a shroud draped over her soul. The shadows danced in the flickering candlelight, twisting, contorting, taking on monstrous shapes. The whispers intensified, becoming a cacophony of voices, each vying for her attention, each whispering words of madness and despair. Then from the heart of the darkness, a figure emerged. It was tall and skeletal, its limbs impossibly elongated, its fingers tipped with claws that scraped against the wooden floor. Its eyes, glowing with an eerie green light, bored into her soul, feeding on her terror. Elara cowered beneath the covers, her breath caught in her throat, her mind teetering on the precipice of madness. This was the manifestation of her deepest fears, the embodiment of the darkness that resided within her. The creature took a step closer, its clawed hand reaching towards her, its touch promising unimaginable pain. She squeezed her eyes shut, willing herself to disappear, to wake from this nightmare, but the nightmare was just beginning. Time seemed to stand still. The creature's icy breath washed over her, its stench a foul mixture of decay and despair. She could feel its power, vast and ancient, pressing down on her, threatening to crush her. But in that moment of utter terror, something shifted within Elara. A spark of defiance ignited in her heart, a refusal to be consumed by fear. Taking a deep breath, she opened her eyes and met the creature's gaze. The fear was still there, but it was different now, tempered by a newfound resolve. Instead of shrinking back, she reached out with her mind, seeking the source of the creature's power, the nexus of its being. It was a risky move, a gamble that could either banish the creature or unleash its full fury upon her. To her surprise, she felt a flicker of fear from the creature, a momentary hesitation. It was as if it had not expected resistance, as if it had grown accustomed to feeding on the terror of its victims. Emboldened by its hesitation, Elara focused her will, channeling her own power, not as a force of destruction, but as a beacon of light. She imagined the creature's darkness as a tangled knot, and with a surge of compassion, she began to unravel it, strand by strand. The creature writhed in agony, its form flickering, its grip on reality weakening. The whispers faded, replaced by a low moan of despair. Slowly, the creature began to shrink, its darkness receding, revealing a glimmer of something akin to sadness in its eyes. Then, with a final heart-wrenching wail, it vanished, leaving behind only a faint wisp of smoke and the lingering scent of decay. Elara collapsed back onto the bed, her body trembling with exhaustion. The room was silent now, the shadows retreating back to their corners. The nightmare was over. She'd faced her fears, confronted the darkness within herself, and emerged victorious. But she knew that this was only the beginning. The path ahead would be long and arduous, fraught with dangers both seen and unseen. As dawn painted the sky with hues of gold and crimson, Elara rose from her bed, her body weary, her spirit tempered by the night's ordeal. She had stared into the abyss, and the abyss had stared back, but she had not broken. She was different, marked by her powers, forever changed by her encounter with the darkness. But she was no longer afraid. She had learned that her abilities were not a curse, but a part of who she was, a reflection of both her light and her shadow. The path ahead would be solitary, she knew that now. But she would not hide her gift any longer. She would embrace it, hone it, and use it to protect the world from the very forces that she had faced in the darkness. The whispers in the wind, once a source of fear, now carried a message of hope. They spoke of a destiny waiting to be fulfilled, of a world in need of her unique gifts. And Ilara, with a newfound sense of purpose burning in her heart, was ready to answer the call.